Welcome back. Thanks for stopping by. This one is going to be quick and dirty, probably minimal editing because I need to get it up quickly, and also I don't have time right now. But this is an important topic. We've got a surprise trip to Tennessee for Christmas, and we're going to go camping. So I need to hurry up and get unwinterized with the camper. It's already up here in the driveway. And I need to get some stuff ready on the tow rig because I haven't gotten around to it yet. The main thing I want to do right now is I want the battery and the alternator of the truck to be charging the trailer as I'm dragging it. And I don't want just a couple amps. I want a bunch of amps. Instead of hooking up the factory fuse and relay and how they would have had it, which gives like 1.5 amps, I think, I'm going to hook up the outfitter switches that the truck comes with. This is a 2018 F250 Super Duty, and it comes with upfitter switches up here. Right up here. And literally that's just like for things that you wire up to. It's there for like when you use your truck as a plow truck, or you got a hydraulic pump on there for something or another, or an air compressor, what have you. So there's 6 auxiliary switches up there. 2 of them, I believe is number 5 and 6, are 40 amp. I think 40 amp. The rest of them are 25 amp. We don't need all those amps, but I don't want just 1.5 amps either. So I'm going to go with the 25 amp. And what I'm going to do, these also turn off with the ignition. So if I just leave it on all the time, then the plug in the bed will have power all the time if the engine's on. This is going to be beneficial for a couple reasons, and we'll get back to that later. So for this, we're going to need some crimp-on connectors, sockets. I'm going to use an impact instead of just a ratchet. You know how I am. Multimeter strippers. I've got crimpers up under the hood. Heat gun. I know it's not really a heat gun, but some heat shrink. And a spool of wire. Owner's manual. And the internet. That's where this video comes in. This is where the 5th wheel plugs in. It's just like the one up under here, but it's for the 5th wheel. So I need to start with taking this apart. I can take these apart or these ones apart. 4 of these or 2 of these. I don't know which one I need, but I know which one I'm going to try out first. 10 millimeter. You got to find that one because it's never what it's supposed to be. Okay, that was fun. Now let's go with a 7 mil. We'll just go on the plug. Now, I don't know if you can read on here. I had a hard time seeing it, but on here it shows like a printout, a schematics of what each one of those goes to. And you don't have a 12 o'clock. That's where the blind spline is. That's where the notch goes on your plug. So we'll call that 12 o'clock. So from 12 o'clock, we're going to go backwards. So at 11 o'clock, you got the running lamps. Then at 9 o'clock, you got left hand stop and turn. And then at 7 o'clock, negative. Yeah, negative. Then at 5 o'clock, you've got electric brakes. 3 o'clock, you've got right hand stop and turn. In the center, you've got the backup lamps. Interesting. I've never seen a trailer with backup lamps. And then right up here at 1 o'clock is positive. That's the one that we need to work on. Now, I've already checked this out before, and I've checked I don't have power here when the truck is running, or when the ignition is on, or when the tow haul light is on, any of that. I've seen all kinds of different versions of how it should turn on. Some people say you gotta have the tow haul on. Some people say you gotta hit the brake lights, and then it'll turn on this, that, and the other. But no. So now, with that set up straight like that, this is off to the side. That is the one that we need. Right up here at 11 o'clock. If you look back here, it's this orange one. Now, if you know anything about trailer wiring, you know brown is usually your tail lights. Right here's your brown. Right here is yellow, which is a brake and turn, and right over here is a green, which is brake and turn. It all coincides with what this says. So this orange is my power that I want. Now I keep on talking about amps, and here's a real good visualization. The more amps, the more charge, right? So this is your 1.5 amps. This is your 25 amps, and that's your 30 amp. Right here in the owner's manual, it tells you some of what you need to know. Some of this is confusing. This reads like the wires are up underneath the dashboard. They're not. But this tells you which switch, circuit number, wire color. That's important. I'm going to be looking for brown with a green tracer, which means brown wire with a green stripe. And that is a 25 amp. Then there's the rest of them. You can see right here, 40 amp for the last two. Have you ever gone to pick up the trailer and the battery was dead and you couldn't lift the landing gear or the tongue jack if you have a travel trailer? If you have this hooked up and you got 25 amps, you plug in, you're instantly feeding the system enough power to where you should be able to run those jacks up. So it's gonna be a lifesaver. Now, if I had time, I would take that orange wire, I would trace it all the way up to the front of the truck and snip it up there and then run it to where I want. But I don't have that time. What I'm gonna end up doing is just snipping it up here, crimping, and then running my wire up there. Is it the right way? Is it the wrong way? It's not really either, or both maybe, I don't know. Okay, we're underneath, we're on the driver's side. That's the plug that was up there. You can see the light coming right here. That's the side of the bed, outside, and then that's the inside of the bed. So, of course, this is the harness, and right there's that orange wire. Snip. Now I'm going to strip this end, which is the plug end, and I'm going to hook up my red wire right there. Then I'm going to run it up north all the way up there. That's going to be fun. Now, this is 10 or 12 gauge wire, which is fairly thick. And this, I know this is a 10 gauge. The smaller the number, the bigger the wire. So I'm just going to crimp that on there. Crimp, crimp. And then I'm going to take this and crimp it in on this end. These are very nice crimpers. They're well worth the money. They're not the cheap ones that you usually get with the Walmart crimp kits. Now here, you can get these at Walmart. And what it is, you've got two different kinds of crimp connectors. If you get the ones like this with the red hard plastic, those like for interior. Get the ones with the kind of translucent soft plastic, that's heat shrink. You can heat that up and it seals up the connection like this. I hope you guys can see it shrinking, because it's shrinking and making me happy. So once you get that heated up and shrunk up and tight and clean, then you want to patch all this up. Put that back on there, tuck that one back in. There's no power on that wire, so I'm not worried about the end of it being open. And just run some electrical tape over the incision, over the wound, if you will. Seal everything up. And then down here where you got this one popped out, you want to tape around that too. I didn't have to use all this, but you know, whatever, I did. Now, one thing that you do want to do, which I'm skipping right now, I will come back and do this at a later date. We all know that means I probably will never actually do it. But this plastic, this black plastic split loom, you should probably want to cover this stuff up with a bunch of that. I know I have some in the garage somewhere, but I don't have time to dig for it. And if you don't have any, which of course, why would you? You can go to the parts store, or you can even go to Walmart. I think Walmart sells it. But there you go. Patched up. Now, yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of tape on that too. When you crimp that, sometimes you cut through the plastic insulating material, and it can get a little bit corroded, especially in the Midwest, where we put lots of salt and lots of brine down on the roads in the winter. That stuff is very bad for electrics, for electronics, for electricals, electrical digitals, whatever. Okay, stick that back up through there. Now you may be wondering why I want more amperage coming up this wire. I know some of you already understand this stuff, but many of you probably do not. And go back to that water thing I just did. Do you want a little bit of electricity to charge up your battery, or do you want a lot of electricity? The amperage directly correlates to how much of a charge you will get, or more accurately, how fast of a charge you will get. Go back to the water. If you throw a fire hose worth of water into a sink, it's going to fill up quickly. If you just trickle the water, like you're just trying to prevent the pipes from freezing in the winter, it'll take forever to fill. So again, fire hose or trickle. The more power you can throw at it, the quicker it will charge, and also the better it will charge. Because if you're only filling it a little bit, it'll take forever. And you may not be fully charged when you pull over at Walmart to camp out for the night. So then you're already starting off with only half a bucket of water instead of a full bucket of water, the bucket being your battery. Now I also know some of you are probably wondering, what if I overcharge? What if I put too many amps to the battery? The beauty is you can't. Electric doesn't work that way. If the battery is completely full and needs no amperage, it's not going to take any amperage. It'll offer it, but it won't take it. If it needs a bunch of amperage, then it'll call for a bunch of amps and it'll send it all. Just full send. That is the cool part about this. You don't need to worry about overcharging. Now that we're talking amps, not volts. If you try charging a 12 volt battery with a 24 or 110 volt charge, you're going to have problems. Amps and volts are different. Where's the other one? There it is. We're done back here. Okay, 2018, 6.7 liter diesel. Hey, 6.7! Over here on the driver's side, got your brake fluid, you got your one of your coolant reservoirs, and right here, little electrical box. This cap goes on it. I already took it off. There we go. Now, you can identify it quickly by that little 5 amp fuse. See right there? You can pull that and slide the black thing underneath of it, and that changes the way that some of those switches work. We're not going to get into that. You can look up other videos to figure that out. If it doesn't apply to us, you don't want to do it. But being that it has this, I know this is the one we want. It has these 25 amp fuses and 40 amp fuses, and these over here are all the relays. I hope it's focused. Now, a little more difficult is the wires. They're right back here behind it. You can see them right there. Yes, thank you, Ford. Those are a pain in the rear to get to. You like that? If your shocks don't work holding up the hood, just use some vice grips. It's cheap. If you already own the vice grips, it's free. Otherwise, you got to buy vice grips, and you may as well just buy the new strut. These actually work in the heat. They don't work in the cold. Now I got to run that wire from all the way back there, all the way back there to all the way up here. Get it up in there. I need to run everything up out of the way where it's not going to get drug, it's not going to get pinched, it's not going to get chafed, I'm not going to get, did I say pinched, crushed? No damage. Zip ties, tie it to something else. I'm sure there's a harness running up along this way from north to south, and I'm just going to loosely zip tie it to that. I don't want to crush it down with the zip ties, but don't leave it loose where it can just flop around either. Just snug. And then we'll get the wire up here. Instead of trying to run that big spool all up through underneath the truck, I just rolled it out. Now, of course, this is where we're headed to, so I've got plenty extra. So now I'm going to get underneath there and zip tie it all up and run it up here. Totally unrelated tech tip. Small bottle, milk crate, bungee cord. That's great. Even if it does come loose, if the bungee cord comes loose and it starts sliding around, it's not going to flop over and roll because it's in the crate. It'll just slide over and smack that or whatever. But that's great for a backup or for the grill. For your zip ties, you can get a bundle of zip ties at Walmart. You can get a few, you can get a bunch. Just get a bunch. You can get a variety pack, a sampler. That might be best. Or just get a bunch of smaller ones and a bunch of bigger ones. They will come in handy. Now, by small, I don't mean length. These are fairly long, but I mean small as in the size, the thickness. If you've never used a zip tie before, well, okay. It's pretty simple. You got this end, and you got that end, and you quite literally just push it in there, and listen. I don't know if you heard it, but it does a little zipper sound. Now here is where people do things that, personally, it bugs the hell out of me, but it causes injuries. So you zip tie something on there, and then you can leave the tail on there. It looks sloppy, but nobody's going to bleed. What do you mean nobody's going to bleed? You take wire cutters, you go like that. You see right there where it's coming up out of the base? Those are sharp and they will gouge your skin and make you bleed. So this is not the way to do it. Personally, I'd rather see the tail left on there. Now, Snap-on makes a tool, but that's stupid money. Get a razor knife. Be careful. But you get a razor knife, you push it down onto the base of that square, and then you pull it, and it shaves it down. Now, nothing. Nobody bleeds. Everybody's happy. Use a sharp knife, though. Don't use a dull one. That's how you do that. Personally, up underneath the truck, I'm just going to leave the tail on there. I'm just going to leave it like that because I don't care, as long as it's not in the way of anything. All right, so we're up here now. We got everything run, zip tied. It's ugly. I'm going to have to redo it. This spring, I'm going to be taking the bed off. I'm putting airbags on it, and I want to do some maintenance on the rear frame rails. Trying to get rid of a lot of the rust that this thing has. It is a Canadian truck. There you can see some of the wire. I don't like it, but it'll work for now. So back up here, according to the owner's manual and this tag right here, relay number 1, output, BN and GN, that's brown and green. That'd be brown with a green tracer. So right here is brown, and there you go, you can see there, green tracer. And I run my red wire all the way up through here, and boom. Now you'll notice this one is a smaller gauge. That's okay. This is not going to draw more power than this can handle. Since it has a 25 amp fuse, 25 amps is what this can handle. It's good to go. This is a little bit bigger. That's all right. It cannot draw more than what that calls for. You kind of heat it up. It's got a little bit of a delayed reaction sometimes. There we go. If you have an actual heat gun, that might be better. But this works. once this cools down for a moment, I'm going to stuff all these back down here. They were zip tied down here and just kind of a pain in the butt in general. And then also I popped this off of its mounts to make it easier to get to the zip tie. But now I won't need to do that next time, because I do have other ideas for other things to wire up to the upfitters. But as far as this goes, I'm done. I'm going to button this up and then we're going to check it out, test it. Okay, so I've already tested it. With the ignition on and the switch off, this is dead. With the ignition on and the switch on, this has power. With the ignition off and the switch on, it's dead. So all that is working properly. But now here is the test that I really want to know. Without going into the truck, can I fire it up and get power from here as if I'm laying inside the camper? I pretty much know it will, but I want to see it for myself. So what we're going to do right here, you will see that go up to 12, or actually higher than that. So right now the ignition is off and the switch is on, and it should be reading 0. Yes. Now, I'm going to start it with the remote. There it is. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Total win. Like what I was saying earlier, what this means is on our way to Tennessee here in 2 days, I think it's 2 days. We're leaving on Tuesday. Today's Sunday. So Tuesday night, we're leaving right after work. So we're leaving Columbus, well, London, Columbus area, at about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock p.m. And we're just going to head south and hopefully get into Kentucky. And then we're just going to pull over at a Walmart or a Cracker Barrel, whatever, and just sleep for the night. It's cold. So what this is going to do, like I've been saying, just so that there's no confusion. So I will leave the pigtail plugged in to the truck while we go to sleep. We'll have the furnace turned on. And since we won't have shore power, we can't use a space heater. It's just going to be the furnace, and that's it. And then in the middle of the night, if it starts getting cold, as if the heater is no longer working, or in the morning when we get up, all I have to do is hit the remote while I'm laying in bed, and this thing will start charging up the trailer. So even if the battery goes completely dead, boom, I'll have enough power to raise the landing gear. It's all controlled right here. And I went and hooked it to number 1 since I don't have anything else hooked up to anything right now, just this one. And I'm going to use the label maker. I'm probably going to put something right here. Probably TLR CHG trailer charge. I don't know. We'll see. But there we go. As we drive hauling down the road, pulling the camper, that'll be flipped on. And it will be charging as we drive. Total 100% score. Hopefully I get this up before Christmas. If it gets up before Christmas, hope you guys have a good Christmas. If it doesn't, if I don't get it up until after Christmas, hope you had a good Christmas or whatever you celebrate. And, well, looks like this time we might actually get to see it at the campgrounds. So if we don't see you in the comments, hopefully we'll see you in the campgrounds. Merry Christmas. And there is the final touch.